Yeah, I'm living my best life. Made a couple M's, you know. Said I'm living my best life. Said I'm living my best life.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Random Opinions, Reaction, and Reviews. If you don't know who I am by now, you gotta get with the program. Today, I am coming to do the review on the episode that aired on General Hospital. Today's date is July 23rd, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We open up with scenes of Lulu on the couch crying. She doesn't want to be bothered, so she gets a knock on the door. And she opens the door, and it's Peter and Maxie. So she closes the door and goes and lays back down. Don't want to be bothered. So she closes the door in their face and goes back to lay down. And Maxie is not having it. She's banging on the door, being freaking annoying, because she was annoying the crap out of me. One can only imagine how Lulu felt. And so Lulu comes back to the door. She's letting her know, look, I'm not mad at you. I just don't want to be bothered. You know, she's going through some things. And Maxie is trying to explain herself. She's like, look, I don't want to be bothered because of this. And she shows them the divorce papers. And Maxie's like, what? You know, and so she kicks into friend mode. Like, you cannot be in this house right now by yourself. We have to be here to help you. Don't tell Rocco and Charlotte today, because if you tell them today how you are right now, the way you feel is going to radiate on to the children. It's going to make them feel even worse, which I completely agree with. You know, you want to go and tell your children bad news when you've had the chance to apply it yourself, and you've had the chance to think about what you're going to say, and, you know, put up a front kind of in front of them. Because kids, when their parents are strong, they're strong. But when they see their parents break down, it makes them feel even worse. They don't feel secure any longer, you know? So Maxie gets it in her head, look, let's go out. Lulu says she doesn't feel like going out. And Maxie talks her into it. Put your dress on. We going to go get some drinks. Lulu wants to know who gonna watch her kids. Maxie just volunteers Peter. Peter is like, man, I've never watched kids before. Like, I know I've been around James, but that's a baby. I've never babysitted walking creatures before, you know? And Max is like, look, I have total faith in you. You can do it. So he gives in as usual. He always gives in to Maxie. Like, he hasn't learned. He got shot last time he gave in to Maxie, but okay, whatever. So Lulu leaves out. They go to the floating rib. Maxie buys margaritas. As she steps away, Lulu is going to pretty much try to sneak out of the bar. And while she's doing that, she runs into Dustin, a familiar face, and pretty much spills his drink all over him, but he's just happy to see Lulu. So Maxie, she's like, oh, well, we haven't been introduced. I'm Maxie. And Lulu pretty much introduces them, and Maxie invites him to sit at the table with them for drinks. And clearly when he's sitting there, he starts to see something is off with Lulu. She's not engaging like she was before. She just looks sad. So he tries to even suggest karaoke, Whitney Houston. And Lulu just blurts out, look, I'm not feeling good today. I'm not feeling any kind of way because my husband just divorced me. So he's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but your husband is a fool if he divorced you. And Lulu's like, I know. So Maxie says, we're going to have to cut this short, basically. So Dustin decides to leave. And they go home. Meanwhile, at home, freaking Rocco wants... it was just funny to me that Peter was asking Rocco how to babysit him. Like, that's what a babysitter is for. They're supposed to know what to do. They're supposed to know bedtimes. They're supposed to know where the food is at. They're supposed to know... that the child is supposed to be bathed, like different stuff that just normally comes to a parent's head. Peter didn't know. Understandable, he don't got no kids. So he's asking Rocco how to babysit himself. So Rocco is telling him, look, I got to do this. I can only play the game this amount of time. And he seems very responsible. So he's getting ready to go to bed and he wants a bedtime story. So Peter decides to read him a bedtime story. And apparently, I don't know, maybe it was Shakespeare. It sounded like the Bible to me because they was using words like thou and art, you know. But it's about, the book was about a father that couldn't be a father to his son. And as Peter was reading it, he's like, man, like, this book is kind of hardcore. Like, are you sure you want me to read this to you? And Rocco's like, I can handle it. And he's reading it, and he decides to change up the ending of the story. Now, what parent hasn't done that? I've done that myself. Changed up the ending. I don't know why. Like, it's just one of those things. You don't like the way the story's going, so you change it up a little bit. And if your child can't read, it's okay. They don't know the difference. So he changes up the story, and Rocco catches him, calls him out on it. Like, look, that's not how the story went. The story ends this way. And he runs away, pissed, mad. So Peter goes looking for him, and he finds out that Rocco, you know, he's going through some things. He feels like his father doesn't want to be a father to him, and he feels like it's his fault. So Peter had to spit him some game, like, look, you know what? It's never a child's fault. At the end of the day, parents are humans. They are not always going to make the right decisions. He lets Rocco know, like, this is not your fault. Your dad just has some things going on. And he brings up how his relationship is with his mother, how his mother was never there for him. And Rocco said, did that make you feel mad? And are you still mad at her? And he just had some good advice to give Rocco. But I could catch right off the bat that Rocco was starting to spiral because his dad is not in his life, you know. And it's like that. When there's a parent that's missing out of the household, the kids will act out. On to the next scene. We have scenes today with Michael and Sasha. They're taking their relationship to the next level. They're public now. They're just kissing all outside Kelly's and stuff. They go in. They eat. Sasha mentions the Puerto Rico trip. Michael wants to take a rain check on it. But then in the meantime, he invites her to Wiley's birthday party. So, of course, she was happy about that. And while she's sitting there, Lucy is looking at her. And so it makes her feel a little uneasy. And Michael turns around to see what's going on. And he's like, oh, that's just Lucy. You know, that's how she is. And Lucy comes up to Sasha and says, you know, in another life, you could have been the face of deception. And I thought that was one of these little psychic, you know, call outs or something. But no. She was telling her that because I guess there was a magazine called Deception. And, you know, this was before my time of watching General Hospital. But I do recall kind of vaguely that there was like a magazine or something, some type of company with the name Deception. And I think it had to even do with Carly and Laura. Correct me if I'm wrong. When Sarah Brown was on the show, they were doing, like, they had like a magazine cover that she shared with Laura. I think that's how it went. And they went half and half. Yeah, they used to have models that would do the cover and stuff. I could be wrong, but you guys fill me in on that because that's clearly before my time. Lucy lets her know, like, look, you should get into modeling. And Michael starts to find out some things about her. Like, apparently, after fresh out of high school, she tried to be a model. It didn't work out. And he wants to take her back to, like, her hometown so he can, like, see how she was living. And she doesn't want to do that, really. On to the next scene is Jocelyn and Dev. Always arguing. Always, always, always. Nothing new about that. Trina and Cam show up and they diffuse the situation. Cam and Jocelyn go into Kelly's to get some coffee. And Jocelyn lets him know, look, you was a good friend to Oscar. You're being a good friend to me. And she gives him a hug. And Trina wants to know about Dev. And he's letting her know about his fictitious hometown. But yeah, then the four all meet again, and Jocelyn is looking at the compass. I don't know, these scenes were kind of like a filler to me. Very boring. Cam goes to the bridge. He has to do some community service. And clearly I'm like, oh my God, they finna cut the locks off of the bridge. And he cut down Jocelyn and Oscar's lock that said J and O forever. Jocelyn, in the meantime, is still with Trina and Dev outside of Kelly's, and she is just not with it. She's not trying to socialize. She misses Oscar, so she heads to the footbridge. And she gets there, and the freaking lock wasn't there, so it made her feel even more sad. To me, this was the best scene of today's episode. To me, the best scene. Because Dev ends up showing up to see how Jocelyn was doing, and she just broke down in his arms and freaking cried. That lock was a symbolization of Jocelyn and Oscar's love for each other. So it kind of hit her hard. And I was just glad that Deb was able to hold her without question or without argument in his arms. That was a beautiful scene. But that was the best scene of the day. And after that, everything to me on this episode was just filler and just
boring.
At the end of the day, I still love GH, though it has nothing to do with that. I'm always going to watch regardless of if they have steaming storylines or if it's kind of slow, you know. We have scenes today with Hayden and Finn, and Hayden makes it seem like she's coming to see Elizabeth at the hospital, but really we know she was checking for Finn. We know it. Like, Hayden, who you gonna lie to? Finn might have bought that story, but we didn't buy that story. So she spots Lucy Coe and talks to Lucy Coe about possibly buying the house that Finn and her was supposed to purchase before she up and left this man. And Lucy Coe calls her out on it. Like, you know, she was not having it. But at the end of the day, Lucy is like, business is business. Here's my card. Valentine comes to speak to Finn about Cassandra Pierce. He wants to see about getting in contact with Anna because of Cassandra. And so Finn calls Anna when he leaves. Curtis and Valentine also have scenes today, and Curtis is telling him like the information that was in Jax's files is public records. So there's nothing else that Jax has on Valentine and Cassandra that the world doesn't know about. So he starts to question Valentine about certain things and about Nina and the connection between Cassandra, and Valentine is not going to give him any information. He's like, I paid you to do a job. Dig up as much information as you can on Jax, not question me. Hayden and Curtis have scenes together.
They meet. Hayden wants to apologize for being a crappy friend. She feels the need to explain to him the reason why she didn't come to his wedding. And basically some made-up story that
things was still kind of fresh with Finn, and so she didn't want to like take away from his wedding by coming and showing up type stuff, you know. Curtis brings up about the baby, and Hayden kind of deflects. She says she doesn't want to talk about the baby right now. But we know that baby is alive, so I can't wait to figure out and find out where that baby is at. Who's watching the baby? If it was a boy or girl, I want to know. We have scenes today with Sonny and Carly.
Blah, 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 blah. Same old, you guys. They was talking about Deb. They talked about Jocelyn. Same thing.
Like, there was nothing. If you didn't watch today's episode, like, you really didn't miss anything. Yeah, that was pretty much it. It was short. You know, we had a bunch of filler scenes today. Like I said again,
if you didn't watch today's episode, you didn't miss anything. Trust me, you can pick back up tomorrow and pick it back up. You didn't miss anything.
So you guys, let me know how you felt about today's episode. If there's anything that you don't agree that I said, let me know. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye.
Hey, I finally made my mind, know that I can't go back broke. They saying that my time up, my back against the ropes. I hustle, got my grind, know that when I make the most. I had faith